So, today we do a very interesting, we will have to race through quite a lot. I'm going to be speaking about all the Rashi Drishtis, and I want to do some charts. And I can't do any charts unless we know absolutely, which planet looks at what. And the aspects are very, very different. Aspects is nothing but Drishti. And Drishti and in the houses is everything, without Drishti, which is nothing but an aspect. We can't move forward. So at the end of this, you are going to get a little bit of a homework this time, because I want you to look at your chart properly and tell me which planet will be aspecting what sign, and what sign aspects what sign, and which planet aspects which house, and things like that. So okay, so let's move forward. Why do we have the 12 signs? This is just a little recap of things. As we know that the sun, absolutely, as we saw, that the sun is the holder of all the rashis or signs, and and the moon is the holder of the nakshatras or the lunar constellations. And because they conjoin at 12 times in a year approximately, and that's why we get the 12 lunar months. And in Vedic we also have this extra month because the moon's uh, travel time is not exactly 30 degrees. It's like little less or little more. So often that there's a discrepancy, and that's why we get an extra every few years. I think it's 4 5 years we get an intercalary month. So um, so we know that the Surya is a holder of the Adityas. We've already done that a lot. You all may be familiar with that. Let me put on the slideshow. Hang on. Yeah. So we know that it's the holder of the Adityas, and we've gone through all the 12 different Adityas, all the 12 different signs, and we know that the moon predominantly works through the nakshatras, is the keeper of nakshatras. But what you need to remember is your rising sign, every single rashi or the zodiac sign has an impact and has a certain karma that you do. And it's kind of like a sun's way of record keeping everything in the universe. It's like a box, a blue box or black box or whatever. It's a recording instrument of all net sum of all your karma. So pay very, very close attention to all the signs, even if you may not have a planet in there. So the 9 grahas commence from Surya. It's always the lagna. So lagna, which is nothing but it's like the sun. So in the Naisargika, that is in our normal Kal Purusha, the rising sign is akin to the sun on the ascendant. It rises in the eastern horizon. And this eastern horizon is always going upwards. It's called the rising sign very aptly in English, because it is literally ascending. And the opposite point to that is, we know, is the descended, because it's like the setting of the sun. It's like the asta. It's called the asta lagna. Asta in Sanskrit means like dipping down. It's kind of closing in. It's setting. And that's like the seventh house. It has similar energies of the setting sun, the seventh house. And that is why, because sun is very strongly associated with life, and that's why and light, so seventh house is kind of a little bit of like a darkening of the house, and that's why it becomes a maraka. Maraka is nothing but like a killer house. There are 2 houses in the whole of all the whole structure of all the bhavas, that is all the houses. where the second house and the seventh house is a maraka. And we will learn more about why it is a maraka as we go along in the next few sessions. But this is very, very important. Our classification of all the houses is much more fine-tuned than the Western. You know, Western is like how, you know, kind of how houses above the horizon, below the horizon, and things like that. But we have even more additional information that we give, and I'll come to that. So one of them is like the seventh house, you know. So if you have planets on your ascendant sign, that is lagna, rising sign, it has a very different flavor. It has a flavor of the sun. It's like, whoa, I'm powerful, I'm there. You cannot ignore planets in the rising sign, absolutely not. But in the seventh house, it's a completely different flavor. It has a flavor of Libra, where the sun is debilitated. So you have to understand there is a huge and a fundamental difference between both of these. Now, the fate of a native is based upon the lagna and the graha joining, all departing from each other. This is a peculiar statement made by Parashara. So that means he's saying that everything depends, your fate, everything depends on literally the lagna or the rising sign. And you have to have a lagna. Without a lagna, I mean, it's impossible. You know, it's not going to happen. Even you may not know your lagna, that's a different matter. But if you have taken birth, there is almost always every single anything that's living will have a lagna, a moment of time when there is you know, where you've taken birth, there is that moment, and that is will be associated with the lagna will be associated with it. And once you, of course, physically die, there is no lagna anymore. That's, I think, a bit obvious, but still it's kind of important to know. Often I've heard people like from the spirits world and all that talking about their horoscope. That's why it's like hang on, I'm not entirely convinced of that. I don't know if you guys are aware of those kind of stories, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that kind of astrology, you know. Anyway, coming back, the approximate movement of the ascendant sign is roughly 2 hours per sign. That is if you're like on the equator, because as we already saw previously, that equator, you know, it completely, the signs completely change once we move away from the equator. It's, some of them are slower, some of them are takes a long time to rise, some of them are quick to rise, like Aries and Pisces are very quick to rise. So the actual lagna time for a sign varies, depends based on the latitude where you are based, where you're born. The moment you go away from the equator, then it starts stretching and the ellipse becomes more distorted. Somebody standing in the North Pole could have completely, totally distorted ellipse. So some signs are ascending at a very quick pace and some at a super slow pace. We saw that last time, like for example, signs of short ascension and long ascension. So this is something very important. You have to be aware of this. You know, this is very, very much in used, you know, when we are talking of transits and things like that, and also prashna, which is nothing but a horary. So now a quick recap. The sun is nothing. This is the terminology on the left hand side. If you can see my cursor, the sun is Surya, moon. As I said, I am not going to be using the glyphs, the Western glyphs. I will use the Jupiter, Ju, Rahu for Rahu. These are the decimal systems associated, the numbering systems associated with each of the planets. And for all purposes, you will want to know this absolutely, you know. There's no two way about it. There's also a very beautiful thing that, and since we are here, I will tell you it's a little secret. It's called the Jata Graha. Jata is your original, um, what brought you on this planet, and which planet was responsible for your birth. So for example, I'm the eldest in my family. Okay, my mother never had, to my knowledge at least, I don't think so, she never had miscarried or had any issues with pregnancies. So I was her first pregnancy. So I would be, because I'm the firstborn, I have a very, this, I am ruled by Surya. It's because of sun I came in on this planet. So so that's kind of quite important. My son is in the third house. As we go along, we will see that how a third house sun has a lot of battles and things to fight. And it's kind of like, sometimes it's a spiritual war, sometimes it's like an outright battle. But the third house has a flavor of like a Gemini energy, a lot of communication, and its bulk of my job is about communicating with people. So as you can see, that sun in the third house is very vital for my, for everything that I do. Similarly, somebody is, let's say, born, this is not the exact sequence to follow, but let's say somebody is born, he's second born, then he'll be ruled by Jupiter. So please, it's a little bit, I've deviated a little bit here, but just remember, for some purposes we follow this system, for another purposes we follow another system. So it's sun, then Jupiter, and then south node of the moon, Ketu. So it's those are the ones. I'll get you the exact list, but it'll be an interesting exercise to follow. But for rest of them, let's say if you have an exalted, what do you call, in your seventh house, let's say, or your seventh lord is exalted. Okay, so let's say that exaltation lord is Jupiter, and your Jupiter is exalted. So how would this numbering system benefit you? So let's say you have a business of, let's say, some kind of a consulting business, and if your Jupiter is the third lord and it's exalted, then you would want to charge something, your whatever you charge, let's say 300 pounds, you would want to charge rather than 200 or 150 per consultation, something like that. So this is the beauty of knowing this numbering system, because then you can activate that particular planet, and that will be very, very positive for you, because that will be a remedy in itself to increase your your income, or increase your business point of view. Because seventh house is, remember we said seventh house is also the house of business. We haven't come to it, we'll do it in detail, but we all know by general knowledge, the seventh house is all about relationships, intimate relationships, as well as business relationships. So so coming back, so that is a good way to begin. So let's say if you have seventh house, if you're Capricorn rising, your seventh house is ruled by the moon, because seventh house is Cancer, so it's ruled by the moon. And if your moon is in Taurus, how beautiful is that? That means that whatever you do, you should always do. Let's say you are selling, like beautiful garments, and you have a business of selling, like you make your own sort of tea towels or whatever, and so then it's perfect, because then you can actually charge people like $20 to $200 to 2,000 or whatever for bulk things. So that will be a figure that will be very positive for you, because you're activating your moon there. Okay, so this numbering system is, please, it's like the fundamental basic. You've got to know it. It's very, very important. Okay, now this is again the limbs of Kalpurusha, that is the face, the hands. Remember, we went through this previously, but I'm going to quickly go through this. This is a sequence that is in, let's say, your Aries rising. So if you have, let's say, a negative planet, let's say if you have Saturn in Aries, that means there is going to be a little bit of a problem, because Saturn is a malefic end of the day, and it is going to give you a little bit of problems like headaches, and every time something happens, you're going to hold your head and think like, oh my god, you difficult transit. So this head becomes very important, because the first house, it rules the head. Similarly, second houses rules the face. So if you're, let's say, Taurus rising, and if you have like a Ketu there, so there may be some kind of like, maybe something, you were young and something, you suffered an injury through burns or something like that, because Ketu is a malefic, so often that can happen. So essentially what I'm saying is, this list is very important. You have to remember it, that this is the first house. It's like, it's Aries energy, it's to do with the head. Taurus is always the face, Gemini is arms, Cancer is the heart, the Leo is associated with the stomach region or the stomach. Oops, I forgot the Virgo is below, the area below the stomach and above the navel. So it's kind of like lower down, lower stomach area, and Libra is actually kind of the reproductive and below the navel. Those parts are associated with Libra. Everything which is hidden, like anus and all that, comes under Scorpio. The thighs are ruled by Sagittarius. Capricorn is knees. We all know that Saturn, knees, those are kind of very strong Saturnian themes. And Aquarius rules the ankles, and feet is definitely Pisces. So that is often, in the normal scheme of things, the Kalpurusha, this is the scheme we follow. This is also the shloka you can see from Parashara. So this is a fundamental one. So how do we use this? Very simple. Let's say here, if you are Scorpio rising, here's the chart. So Scorpio rising, this is ascendant. Then it will follow the same sequence. That means your head is going to be Scorpio. That sign of Scorpio is going to be your head. And let's say if you have Rahu, a malefic there, then there is going to be scar on the head or something. In fact, from my experience and from my close friends and all that, I know Scorpio rising, a friend of mine, she has moon in Scorpio. That means the moon is on her ascendant. And you would think like, wow, that's beautiful. But remember, moon in Scorpio is in its debility. It's in its fallen position. And so what happened was, when she was 2 years old, her mother had gone out for delivering, was in the hospital, about to deliver her sibling, her sister. And so she was being taken care of by her, in India we have like house help. So the house help was frying some stuff in the kitchen, and she had her in one hand, this little girl of 2, in on her hip, on her hand, on one hand, and then she was like having kind of churning some of and frying some of the stuff, and the whole hot oil fell on the kid. And so this 2-year-old, and till date, she has a massive scar on her face. It took a lot of, during her teenage years, she went through a lot of restructuring of her, her forehead and all that, where the hot oil had spilled. But please, this is a classic case of a debilitated moon on a Scorpio ascendant. So it gives you an idea that how her head, she has a whole line where the on her head where the no hair will grow. So literally she had to do some kind of grafting, but even then it didn't improve huge amounts. It's still date she has a huge scar across her head and going from her forehead. So this is a classic example of, you know, how this whatever your rising sign, the head begins there. So if you're malefics there, please watch out, you know, if you, especially if you're in a planetary period of that dasha period, then it will be a problem. So similarly it follows the same sequence as the previous one. So the face, then the arms, so the third house is arms, and so on and so forth. So for a Scorpio rising, the 12th house becomes the feet, you know. So Libra is represented by their feet. Okay, let's move forward. Now, any questions so far? No? Okay. So now, remember, we are now delving a little bit. I'm going to broach on the Lagna, which is the rising sign. Strictly speaking, it is not, it's just a mathematical point, the rising sign. It's not kind of not really existent there. So you have to bear that in mind. Let's now, I wanted, I don't know, I haven't covered this, but I just put some pictures up on your on the both the groups, and please, and I'm going to quickly go through it. Have I gone through this? Can somebody tell me anything, or no? Is everybody familiar with this?
No.
Okay.
I remember you shared something to the group, which was the direction to draw the lines. But it was just
yeah. Okay. So this is really important when you draw your own charts and various charts. This will actually is, you may think it's nothing, but this is going to be very important when it comes to you know, everyday drawing charts, because you can't just draw things you know, start from here and draw like that. There is a definite way of drawing it. It's always begins from the northeast towards the south. This is the south, this is the northern direction, this is the west, and this is the east. The topmost signs are always east oriented. So Aries and Taurus are always on top on the east side. So we always begin from the northeast corner, because it's a very auspicious corner. It's ruled by Jupiter. As we go along, each of these planets does very well in these directions. They rule those directions. It's called the Dikpala Devtas or Dikpala Grahas. So these planets flourish in these directions. And so this direction, northeast, is very, very fruitful and very auspicious. So we always begin like this, where the red lines go. And then the second one is from top to bottom. And then we go, the third one is like this. And then the fourth one is like this. So this is a very simple, and then you cross it out like this, and then this way. And then you go you know, this way, and so on and so forth. The fifth one, and then the sixth, and then the the fifth, and then the sixth, and then the seventh, and the eighth. Okay, so that is a very important sequence for you guys to follow. And it's the same thing with, this is a much simpler chart, the Surya Chakra. So you begin top, bottom, and then third and fourth, and then you've got like a kind of like a very simply, and then it's like the rays of the sun, you know, you're literally like always northeast corner you begin with, and then move towards here. So 1 and 2, draw the bottom line, then this line, the fourth line, if you wanted to do it with an enclosed structure. If you don't want an enclosed structure, because it's limiting, you know, it says it can remove the open chart is preferred, as it removes the limits of the samsara. Samsara is nothing but our own inner limitations, all the Maya. So this, the figure 2 is here so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you've got like 4 clear lines, and this is going to be very auspicious for like gains and any kind of knowledge of gains or any kind of well-being. That is the preferred one. And then you draw the rays like that. So it's literally a very simple way to do it, and this is especially going to be very functional when we come to doing charts. Sorry, doing when we talk about the eclipses, when we want to manifest something, definitely during eclipses we are meant to draw our own chart and then keep it and do some certain mantra practice and all that. And since we do have an eclipse coming up, so it'll be quite interesting. So again, the South Indian one, I won't delve into it. You can look at it. As I said, I've floated it into the both the groups. So the top, and then the bottom, second, third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, sixth, both the horizontal lines, and then the last one you do is the vertical lines, and that's the inner vertical lines, and that's it. So like I said, you have to pay a little bit of attention, but if you just take care and make it a good practice, it'll help. Now we come to the most important part of the various. Remember, I said it is not just about the houses, it is how the houses are viewed in Vedic. And we are not going to go, we'll reserve this for next time, when we are going to go in depth with each of the different clubbings, how we club the houses. But for today, we just have to know that the 4 cardinal houses, which is starting from Lagna, the ascendant, the 4th house, 7th house, and the 10th, and which is nothing, which houses the mid-heaven, these are all called the Kendras. Kendras is the Vishnu Sthana. Vishnu Sthana is to do with, because it's planets here manifest anytime, and they always manifest. They don't need a particular kind of dasha or anything. Even by transit, they are very easily able to manifest, you know. Now the Kona houses are the Lakshmi Sthana, you know, because she has entire what's the word, she has an excellent grasp and power over these. The first house is also a Kendra as well as a Trikona, which is nothing but a trinal house, Kona. 1, 5, and 9 are known as Kona or Trikona, which is nothing but a trine house. So 1, 5, and 9. Second, 5th, 8th, and 11th are Panafaras or succedent houses. That is second from the first, and then it's second from the fourth. So these are all the succedent. So succedent, as the clues in the name, it's after every Kendra houses. So add 1, go 1 step. So first house, second house is a succedent house, which is nothing but a Panafara house. So, and the 4th house, the next Panafara is the 5th house, which is the Lakshmi Sthan. And the 7th house, the next Panafara is the 8th house, and the 10th house Panafara is the 11th house. You have to remember these terminologies. There is no way out. Then there is a 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th houses, which are called Apoklima. Apoklima literally means Apo and Klima, it'll kill off. One of the things is about killing off, you know. But they are also, some of these are also included as what do you call, upchai. They're part of the growth houses too. So there is a little bit of an overlap. But the thing about apoklima is they take some time to manifest. They don't manifest immediately compared to the kendras. The kendras are instant manifestation. Konas are absolutely beautiful. Any combination of these two is a Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is like a kingly yoga. You know, it's like it will give you loads of abundance in every way. A great Raj Yoga is when there is a combination of one of the lords of these with one of the lords of the trinal house. That's a beautiful and a kingly Raj Yoga. So we will go in more into yogas once we get the aspects sorted, but I'm just telling you that this is the nomenclature of various, how we club them together. Then we come to the Dushtana or the evil houses, which are nothing but the 6th house, 8th house, and 12th house. Again, the Karaka for this is Mars and Shani. We haven't done the Karakas, but it's again a concept which doesn't exist in the Western. And Karaka is nothing but somebody who's a doer. And it means that each house has, it's like a key. You know, it's not just enough to have, hey, I've got, an exalted moon in my 4th house. Superb. You know, that's superb, because the Karaka of the 4th house is the moon itself. And the Karaka of the Venus is also, Karaka for the 4th house is also Venus. So let's say if you have like a beautiful exalted Venus in the 4th house, you know, you're a Sagittarius rising and your 4th house is got Venus there, exalted one. But what happens if moon is badly placed? It's gone in the 8th house. Then it's a big problem, because the Karaka of the 4th house, so Venus is completely at mercy of the moon to give her results. So she will give some positive results. Don't get me wrong, it is her exaltation sign. But we have to see a host of other factors, and Karaka is the topmost factor. Because without the well-placed Karaka, the whole chart will crumble. So you have to, so don't get very excited. Wow, this is exalted. This is wonderful, great. Well, tell me where the Karaka is, you know. So we will come more to the Karakas in the next, because we have a lot of things to cover. Right now, I'm just giving you an example of, like, you know, the Karaka, which is for the 6th, 8th, and 12th house, Dushtana. The Karaka for 6th house is approximately Mars, but also shared by Saturn. 8th and 12th, the Karaka is definitely, Shani. So Shani is the, for all purposes, Shani is the Karaka for it. Then we come to the Chatur Ashraya houses, are 4th and 8th house. 4th house and the 8th house, we will see it in the next slide why they are called Chaturashra houses. There is a reason for it. That means they are like protection houses. The 4th house is the first of the Jala or water house, and it has a lot to do with moksha. And the 12th house of any of the natural zodiac, of course, the Pisces is where we find liberation or moksha. But for every one of us, the 12th house is where we are ultimately meant to go. You know, we are meant to go find liberation in our 12th house. But we cannot reach the 12th before we transform ourselves. So the journey begins in the 4th house. The 4th house is how we fundamentally feel within ourselves. Forget about, oh, I'll be happy if I get this and I'll be happy if I get that. None of that. So that's why the 4th house has to be a sense of protection. It's our home. It's also to do with reality, you know, property things and all that. So 4th house has a huge significance. It's our fundamental sense of happiness and contentment, because it is, after all, the house of the mother. And the fourth and the eighth house is a house of transformations, so each house is like a mantra, or it's like kind of, because it's the fifth from the fourth. Again, we will come to the bhavat bhavam. I don't want to rush into too much, otherwise you'll be like, oh my god, this is getting too crazy. So let's just understand that these are the protection houses, fourth and the eighth house. Just bear that in mind. Then we come to the third, sixth, 10th and 11th houses, which are nothing but upachaya, means growth. So every planets here tend to get better and better over time. So let's say you are Gemini rising and you have Mercury in the third house in Leo. That's beautiful. That means that over time, you will have enough intelligence, enough entrepreneurship, enough creativity to make things better and better and improve your lot in life. You see, that is how it works. So upachaya houses are very important. They get better over time. Then we have the Chaya houses, which is nothing but the shadow houses, 2, 12, 6, and 8. 2, 12 is again, kind of, they are, if you look at from the Lagna point of view, you can't see the second house and the 12th house, as well as the 6th house and the 8th house. We will come to why it is the Chaya or the shadow houses, because you can't, it's not a trine aspect. It is not, if you're sitting here, you can't really see somebody here or someone here, you see. So these are kind of our shadow houses. And I will speak about it when we much more in detail once we go through each of the houses in depth. Then we have the Trishadaya houses, which is the 3rd, 6th, 8th, and 11th. These are kind of trika houses. That means they are kind of very negative. Lords of these will give you a lot of problems. The lord of the 3rd house is combative. It's going to tempt you and things like that. 6th house is full of conflict. Any 6th lord will be full of conflict. 8th lord is a house of longevity, but it's also the house of disease, as is the 6th house. And so lords of these are going to, wherever they land, they will give you some issues or the other. And the lord of the 11th is definitely a trika. Trika in Sanskrit means like a negative one, and so the 11th house is also, lord also becomes negative. Then we have Badhaka, which is nothing but obstacle creator, which we will come to. Sandhi, again, they are like the joint houses, and Gandanta, where it's like a bridge that you're crossing, like a karmic bridge. So again, these houses I will come to next time. Like I said, we have a lot of things to cover as we go along. So when I use these terms, when I do each of these houses in detail, then you will be at least familiar with it, but I will make sure that I will keep repeating them. Now, the names of these houses, as I said, 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, they are in these order of houses, just like the Western, quite a bit of Western. This is one of, I think, one of Parashara's chapters. But we have a specific names, which again I will say, like Lagna, 1st house is Lagna. So again, 2nd house is Dhana Bhava, 3rd house is Parikrama. Parikrama is courage. So again, these houses, it'll be good to know the names, because it will really change your perspective towards these houses and how you learn. So again, as I said, each of these houses have a very different flavor to what you have learned so far in the Western system. Again, I'm going to cover this at a later date. It is a little bit advanced, but because I was going through the shlokas and Parashara text, I had to put that in, but we'll come to that. Now, we come to one of the most important and core concepts, without which everything is a non-starter, and it's called the Drishti. Drishti is nothing but sight, and in Sanskrit it means to see. That means, what are we seeing? What is to do with seeing? So, Graha Drishti. Graha is nothing but planet. In Sanskrit, Graha is planet. It means Grahan. That means in the grips of. Graha is you're like caught in the grips of. So literally, these planets do catch you in the grip of, our life. That's what the planets do. So when we talk about Graha Drishti, if you put it together, planetary sight, what does that mean? What does it even mean, like planetary sight? What it really is alluding to is that each of the planet has, it'll grip you with a certain way it looks at you. Wherever it is stationed at, whichever house it is in, it has a certain way of looking at various places. It's like the king, it wants to, it will be able to, it has, sometimes it's able to sit on its throne, which is on a raised platform, and it can see certain places really well, but it probably cannot see what's happening at the back, behind the scenes. So that is what literally it means. So consider each of these grahas or planets as if it's like a king with its own throne, and it has a certain angle. Through a certain angle, it can see and cast its sight or aspect. And all planets. So basically, the Graha Drishti is an expression of desire, which is relatively more temporary as compared to Rashi Drishti. Now we are making it two different things. So one, we have the planetary Drishti, that is the Graha Drishti. It has everything to do with the planets. And the other one is everything to do with the Rashis, that is the signs. That means the zodiac signs or the Rashis also have their own sight, own expression of knowledge and what they are looking at. And that is very important for you guys to understand a big difference between the two. Again, this concept is non-existent in the Western one. So, but this forms the bare bones, without the drishtis and the, what kind of drishti we won't be able to proceed at all or make any kind of analysis on our chart. All planets excepting Ketu, the headless one, have sight. So this is again an important one. So why would Ketu be the headless one? We've already seen the myth of, in the Vedic perspective, the myth of Ketu. He is got no head, but he's got a body. And why it has no sight? That means it doesn't aspect anything. Ketu, wherever it lands, there is no aspect, and all planets aspect the seventh sign from where they are stationed. So this is important, but the exception is Ketu. Ketu has nothing, no sight. So all planets, that means literally every single one of them, all 8 of them are aspecting the 7th house from where they are stationed. And the outer planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, have specific aspects on signs other than the 7th sign. So in addition to the 7th sign, which all the 8 planets from Sun to Rahu, Sun to Saturn and Rahu, all of them aspect the 7th sign. Of course, there are percentages given, which I'm not going to cover it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the chart of how much Pada Drishti each of the planets have, and I'm going to put it on both the groups. So you guys then will have a perfect sort of like 25% or 50% or 100% Drishti, because there is a definitive demarcation. As we go along, you will find that there is a specific way. Not all planets have 100% aspects. So again, here the outer planets Mars, Jupiter and Saturn have a special aspects on signs other than the seventh one. Rahu also has special aspects, just like an eagle can see everything from a position above. So also our outer planets are at a relative height above the earth as compared to the sun, and hence acquire this ability of special aspect. So this is an important point. None of the planets can aspect second and 12th from their station except Rahu, who can see the second house from its station counted zodiacally. That means because Rahu is retrograde, we have to count it zodiacally. If we count it zodiacally, then it's the 12th house. It's the reverse. Because it's retrograde always. The nodes are always retrograde. So that's why we have to count them backwards. So if we just count them zodiacally, then they are actually the second house. It translates to second house, which is nothing but the 12th house from looking at Rahu, because it's always going backwards. Okay, so let's go. So far so good. Any questions? No. Yes? Anyone? Okay.
I have a quick question. Sorry,
yes,
just a quick question. You know, when you were talking about the Kendra houses or the corner Panafaras and so on.
Yeah.
Is there like a dominant one that you'd see in the chart, or do you have to mention all of them?
Sorry, what dominant what? Sorry.
Like, is there like a dominant like, you know, in Western astrology, if someone's more cardinal dominated, then you kind of comment on that more. But if someone's more like in Vedic astrology, like more Banapara or all of these different ones, do you have like a dominant?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, some people may have, like, let's say 5 planets or 4 planets in cardinal signs in Kendras. So so that means they have a preponderance of that cardinal energy. That is nothing but the Chara Rashis. Chara is cardinal, movable. So yeah, so we do, of course, we take into account. Yeah, of course. Where the signs are placed in what, you may have all the planets in, let's say, only in dual signs,
Okay.
And they may be only in, or you may have no planets in Kendras, nothing in cardinals,
Yeah, of course.
And so, yeah, of course. Yeah. That definitely, yeah.
Thank you.
None of the planets can aspect 6th and 11th house, as these are places of danda, punishment, and hara, removal from this planet. What this means is that the 6th house and the 11th house, remember we began that it is the trick houses. These houses are absolutely punishing. 6th house will smash, will kind of, kick you and punish you and kind of hate you. 11th house won't be that kind as the 6th house. 11th house will absolutely smash you to pulp. So planets in these houses are kind of under a real punishment here. And bear in mind, how do we reach the 11th house? If you count from the 6th, it comes to the 11th house. It's called this concept of seeing every house from every other house. It's called Bhavat Bhavam. And so 6th house and 11th house are absolutely terrible houses. I mean, there is no two ways about it. Okay, even though There are a few planets that do very well in these houses, so they don't give you so much problems. Like, for example, um, Saturn in the sixth house will actually be not so bad. It will give you problems, but it won't be that terrible because it's a malefic in nature. In the sixth house, Saturn will ensure that all your miserable habits will come to an end. And in the 11th house, the sun does quite all right, but every other planet will absolutely hammer you, you know. It's called the 11th house. There is a quotation in Sanskrit, Tano Tana Danda Hara. So that means the sixth is 11th is sixth from the sixth, and it will absolutely smash you, So you have to remember this very much, because this is absolutely the key. Bodies or planets cannot desire punishment and removal from this material universe. The only one who creates this desire or removal from the material world is Ketu, and hence it is a moksha karaka, the giver of emancipation. Now, remember, we've gone about the liberating nature of Ketu. Ketu is very, very liberating. If you have a Ketu Dasha or an Antardasha, you become automatically detached. Automatically. You'll be like, oh, I'm not interested in, doing anything. I'm not interested in earning money. I'm not interested in getting an extra car, or, I don't care. Ketu will just like, would not care. Tune in, that expression, drop out, tune out. That's the way of Ketu. It'll want just like spiritual growth, and it'll run after like bohemian experiences and be a sadhu and just kind of like, blank out, tune out, and kind of just so often people who have difficult placements of Ketu and often problems with Ketu, they may find that when the Ketu Dasha or Antar Dasha comes along, then they will probably take to drugs or something like that, because they can't handle the spiritual energy. They can't believe that all their desires, whatever they wanted, is gone. Everything, their bank balance is over, and they're like, oh, I can't be bothered. Even if it is, I can't be bothered to work and create more income and things like that. That's what Ketu does. It makes you detached completely. So, but Ketu is phenomenal for, let's say, studying Jyotish or astrology or anything which is kind of like will take you out of your comfort zone and give you extra knowledge and reach you higher in the sense of consciousness. That Ketu is beautiful at. So you have to know when, when Ketu comes along, when you're given lemons, you've got to start making lemonade. Thus removing the second and 12th, sixth and 11th, and first and seventh bhava. That is, if we remove all these, we are left with special aspects for the remaining signs. That is the third house, fourth house, fifth house, eighth house, ninth house, and 10th house. So essentially, second house and 12th house, nobody aspects. Sixth house and 11th house, no one aspects. And first house and seventh house, we've already seen that all planets aspect, the seventh house except Ketu. So what that means is that if you remove all this band, you're left with third house, fourth house, fifth house, eighth house, ninth house, and 10th house. So now let's see what's going on here. So what does Mars aspect then? Mars aspect is called Chaturashra. Chaturashra, as I already mentioned, is to do with protection. And of course, it has to do with protection. Look at Mars. He's like the commander in chief. He wants to protect. His sole job is, how can I protect my mother, my home, my country, my boundaries, my everything? How can I protect my corporate world? How can I protect? It's all about protection. And the eighth house, the natural Naisargika eighth house, which is the house of Scorpio, Of course, wherever Mars is sitting, whichever house Mars is in, it is going to aspect these two signs. Okay? Is everybody clear on this? Hello? Because you will have to do an exercise. Sorry?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes. Go on.
I'm just trying to be clear. First, you say no one aspects the 11th house. You mean from its own original position, not, for instance, a planet in the 5th house would always aspect the 11th house, right?
Oh, yeah, you know, yes.
But so you mean the 11th house from itself, counting from the planet as if it were in the 1st house?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that that's what
yes, absolutely. Okay. So
I think that was the question I wanted to ask. So when you say Mars aspects the 4th, it's the 4th from where it's sitting in your chart.
Yes. So you guys will have to create that table, and you will have to just put your chart handwritten and put up the planets there, and then tell me which if Mars is aspecting. So for example, not everybody will have Mars obviously on the ascendant. You know, here it is. I've made the East Indian chart. The Mars is here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4th house, Mars is here, and the 8th house. So let's say Mars was here, you know, in the 4th house. So you count from 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4. You arrive at the 7th house from the Lagna. So that is what the 7th house Mars will be aspecting. Then you count 1, if Mars is over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's aspecting the 8th house, which is the 11th house from the ascendant. So please make that distinction. Wherever Mars is, it will aspect 100% 4th house and 8th house, 100%.
Quick question.
Yes, go on.
So basically it's easier to plot this on a Shukra chakra because your 1st house is going to be the top.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The planets, it doesn't matter. Even the South Indian one is fine. It's all to do with right now it's at the top. So is this at the top, you know. So that doesn't matter. But what matters is your understanding that wherever Mars is, you just count whichever house Mars is in, you count from that house, arrive at the 4th house from where Mars is, and then you say, okay, that's the house Mars is going to be aspecting for the rest of your life. As long as you live, that Mars is going to look at that house, and then the 8th house is going to look at. Similarly, Jupiter and Rahu aspect the Prarabdha and Purva Punya. Prarabdha is a karma, you know, which is very, some of it is good, some of it is bad. And Purva Punya, Rahu is to do with rebirth. So that's why it's called Purva Punya. Purva Punya is the evil and good done in the past birth as indicated by the 5th and the 9th houses. So please guys, this is an important one. Jupiter and Rahu always has trine aspect. That means wherever it is, it will have a 5th house and the 9th house. So it's like a trine. Remember the trine? Okay. Is everybody clear on this, or shall we do an example?
That's clear. Clear.
That's one other question.
Yes, go on.
You mean whole sign aspects? In
yes,
other words,
always whole sign. We've gone
anywhere in the sign gets 100%, even if they're 29 degrees apart in degrees, the planets.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
You know, that's correct. Because right now we are just doing the whole signs. There is a way of, like, you know, other ascendants where we look at auxiliary ascendant like Bhava Lagna and all that, and Paka Lagna, but we are not going to be delving so much into that yet, you know, because those are kind of like little bit advanced. I mean, we can have a look there, no doubt, but I don't want to get into it at this stage, you know. So everybody clear on that? So now we come to the third one. So basically Jupiter and Rahu is a similar aspect. 5th and 9th aspect, Rahu and Jupiter both have, but Rahu has an additional second aspect, as we saw. As we saw here, that the Rahu is also aspects. Remember here I said 12 house counted in the reverse. So that is Rahu's extra aspect. So you have to be aware that Rahu aspects that as well. Okay. So Rahu, let's say, let's do a little kind of, okay, let me hang on. Let's put Jupiter here. Okay, hang on. Let me just go to my, hang on. Let me do a new share and let's, yeah, okay. And then we can see a chart, okay? Okay. Let's take this chart. Okay, let's see. Okay, can everybody see this chart? Hello?
No.
No.
Oh,
We
really?
still see your slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Just stop sharing that and then
Okay, now I've
share
shared
the other
this.
thing. That's
Yes.
see it
Can
now.
everybody-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now here, this is ascendant. I can also put up, one sec. Okay, there we go. I've got two different charts here, three actually, okay? So now let's see. What's the ascendant? Can unmute yourselves. Let's have some little chit chat on this. Can everybody unmute themselves and tell me what's the ascendant?
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
Excellent. So it's Sagittarius ascendant. So where is Mars then?
4th house.
Pisces.
In Pisces. Yeah.
In the what house?
Fourth
Third
house.
house. Third.
Oh, third
Number
house.
3.
No,
Yeah, third.
4th house.
Third house.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's Mars, okay?
Yeah.
If you look at here, that's the Sagittarius ascendant. Remember, we begin always, this is Aries. So we begin here and we begin, this is ascendant Sagittarius because Aries is always, this is a fixed zodiac. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's Pisces. So currently in the sky, Mars is in Pisces. Can everybody see here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, can somebody tell me where is Mars going to aspect and which planet is it aspecting? Can somebody tell me that, please?
Gemini.
Excellent. That's the 4th. Can you tell me what
Ascendant.
Drishti is it in? 4th Drishti? By 4th Drishti?
Graha Dhristi.
Yes, excellent. Beautiful. Go on. Who's that?
Maria.
Maria. Okay, excellent. Go on. And what else is it as? What's the 8th Drishti?
Libra.
And then the 11th house, Libra.
Excellent. And what are the planets in the 11th?
Mercury and Venus.
Beautiful. So Mars is basically aspecting Venus and Mercury, you know, as well as it's the 7th house of a Sagittarius currently. Now, let's have another one, okay? Look at this Jupiter here. Can someone tell me where Jupiter is?
Second house.
Excellent. So if Jupiter is in the second house in Capricorn, that's correct. That means remember, Jupiter will aspect 5 and 9 houses. So if it is in the second house, which houses is it aspecting?
6th house in Taurus.
Excellent. And?
Bravo.
And 10th house.
Excellent. Okay, we got that then. Excellent. Now let's go to Rahu. Mr. Rahu, Shri Rahu is in which house?
6th.
Sixth
Excellent. In what sign?
in Taurus.
Taurus.
Okay. So Rahu is in Taurus. Excellent. In the sixth house, sorry. So now which house is Rahu going to aspect?
It's like Jupiter, so the 5th and 9th from itself. That would be 10 and 2, no?
And 2nd house.
Yes, absolutely. The second house, the 10th house, and you missed out the second house as well, which is Rahu's special Drishti too, which is?
Seventh house.
7th house.
Yes. So, okay, excellent guys. So that means Rahu is aspecting the 7th house, Gemini sign. Mars is also aspecting the 7th sign. Oopsies, daisies. That is 2 heavy-duty malefics aspecting the sign of Gemini currently in the sky. And that is not easy. So if you have planets here, guys, anyone got major planets in Gemini? Anyone?
I've got Jupiter.
I have Saturn there.
Okay.
Jupiter as well.
Excellent. Are you feeling the energy? Who's got Saturn there? Who's that?
It's Vanya. It's me.
Okay, I'm stopping to share.
Yeah.
So how does that feel? That must be not easy.
I don't know. It's not easy, but it's not so hard. I don't know. What shall I?
Yeah.
Don't know. It's not. I can't. I don't have any difficulties at the moment. I don't know. What shall I feel actually?
No, because you see that sign of Gemini is feeling a little bit under kind of affliction by Rahu and Mars. And if you have Saturn there, that means it's all about transforming that house and arena, you see, for the next.
Yeah, I have Saturn, Rahu, and Mars in Gemini.
Oh my God.
So,
Well, you're putting it to good use by studying, really.
Right.
You know.
well, I think they're happy that they're getting stimulated, no, by
Yeah, exactly.
Rahu and Mars.
Absolutely. So it's all kind of, you know, stimulant. So now homework, please put it anywhere you want. I want you guys to do like a little hand do your chart, and please just make a little table, and just like Mars, just put Mars, the key planets, Mars, Saturn. We haven't come to Saturn, but just Saturn's aspect is 3rd and the 10th house. And I want you to, and Jupiter and Rahu. So just do these, you know, put it up in your chart. I would love to hear what's happening, okay? So until next time. Now, next time, I know we mentioned about that next week is, we'll have like a mini session on the eclipse one, the lunar eclipse. But so we will schedule, everybody agreed for a Saturday or afternoon. I think, Anthony, you said afternoon was, Saturday morning was better for you, for UK time Saturday, yeah?
Which Saturday is that?
I don't know. I'm open to, maybe I will take an opinion poll and put it in the chat box, and then people can come up with, I can come up with 2-3 dates, and then we can see if everybody can attend. Is everybody okay with that? Or unless you have some suggestions, which I'm happy to hear.
I'm personally flexible. I don't know if that means anything.
Okay, that's fine. Lovely. Now, we have Sue Fairbrother, and then there's an open discussion for the lodge night tonight. So please feel free. You know, we'll still have a few minutes to go. So, and don't forget, there is Divinations Conference, December 4th to December 6th. Okay. And anyone who attends full conference, they will get a little aromatherapy oil, not aromatherapy oil, aromatherapy balm kit, okay, as like a freebie thing, homemade. So anyway, thank you very much. Any questions? Because we'll have to go soon. No?
A very quick question about the numbering system you showed. Is there a logic to how the numbers are assigned? When you numbered all the planets
Or
from
the
1 to
decimals?
10?
Yes, there is a thing. There is a logic to that. There is, certainly is, you know. We'll have to go into a little bit of the myth. I think the moon one is obvious. The sun one is obvious. The sun is always number one, you know. But there is that. There is a logic, yes. They're not randomly picked. Okay. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And see you next Monday. Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.